The boy had been thinking about that afternoon since the moment he opened his eyes. He was turning 8, and for a child that age, birthdays are not measured in money or fancy decorations. They are measured in promises. And his mother had made one he held on to all day. After school, they were finally going to celebrate, so he carried that promise with him into the classroom, like it was a secret treasure. He sat through lessons with the kind of restless joy only a kid can feel on his birthday, barely able to wait for the last bell. In his mind, he could already see it happening. Her car pulling up, her smile. Maybe a hug, maybe a cake later, maybe a small gift, but more than anything, the thing he wanted most was simple. He wanted her to show up. When the final bell rang, he probably walked out expecting the day to begin. Instead, he walked straight into a silence he did not understand. At first, nothing felt wrong. Parents ran late all the time. Cars got stuck in traffic. Adults forgot things. That was normal. So he waited, backpack near his feet, eyes fixed on the entrance. Every sound in the hallway making him look up for a second, only to feel that tiny drop in his stomach when it was not her. 5 minutes passed, then 10, then longer. The building began to empty in that sad, hollow way schools do after dismissal. The bright energy of the afternoon drained out of the hallways, and the office grew quieter and quieter around him. What had started as excitement slowly turned into something heavier. Not panic yet. Just that first awful feeling children get when they realize the world is not going the way it was supposed to. The staff noticed it too. They started making calls, trying every number they had. Emergency contacts. Relatives. Anyone who might answer. One call after another led nowhere. And then, little by little, the truth came into the room. His mother had been taken into custody, and no one had come for him. Multiple reports later confirmed that the school reached out because the parent who was supposed to pick him up was incarcerated, while authorities chose not to publicly explain more, likely to protect the child's privacy. That is the kind of sentence adults can process and file away. But a child does not hear it like that. A child hears something much simpler and much more painful. She is not coming. On my birthday, she is not coming. And that is what makes this story hit so hard. Just hours earlier, he had been imagining a celebration. Now he was sitting in a school office trying to understand why the one person he expected most had vanished from the day entirely. He probably did not understand the word incarcerated. He probably did not know the adult details, or what had happened, or when she would be back. All he knew was that the promise had broken, and he was the one left waiting inside the pieces. That was when the Green Bay Police Department got the call. Officer Daryl Robinson responded to Howe Elementary School after staff reported that an 8-year-old boy had not been picked up after school. When Robinson walked in, this was not just another routine problem to solve. He immediately recognized the child from prior contact with the family, which meant he understood right away that the situation around this boy was bigger than one bad afternoon. What he saw in that office was not a child screaming or falling apart. In some ways, that made it even sadder. Robinson later said the boy seemed to be in relatively good spirits, playing around and trying to stay okay. Children do that sometimes. They hold themselves together because part of them still believes the grown-ups will fix everything in the next few minutes.
I recognized him from a prior contact, probably a couple months before this. He seemed like he was in good spirits.
Then Robinson learned something that changed the entire call. It was the boy's birthday. In that instant, this stopped being only about making sure a stranded child got home safely. It became something else. Because now Robinson was looking at a little boy whose birthday had begun with hope and was ending in confusion, disappointment, and the kind of hurt a child remembers for years. The kind of day that can harden into one of those memories people carry quietly for the rest of their lives. Robinson could have handled it like a transaction. Make a few calls. Wait for family. Keep the child safe. Move on to the next call. No one would have blamed him. No one would have expected more. But he did expect more from himself. First, he handled the practical side. He tracked down the boy's grandfather and got permission before doing anything else. That mattered. This was not random impulse. Robinson made sure the child was accounted for, and that family knew where he was. Only after that did he make a different kind of decision, one that had nothing to do with paperwork and everything to do with compassion. He invited the boy into the squad car. For an adult, that might sound like a small gesture. For an 8-year-old boy having the worst birthday afternoon of his life, it was enormous. He had never been in a police car before. Robinson later said the boy was excited the moment he got the chance.
So we brought the 8-year-old out to a squad. He'd never been in a police car before and was very excited to ride in one.
Then Robinson gave him a few small things: Green Bay Packers cards and a little Green Bay police tattoo. Cheap items. Easy to overlook, but those were exactly the kinds of things children remember forever. Not because of their price, but because of what they mean in a moment of pain. They say, "I see you. I know this day matters. I know you needed something good to happen." And Robinson was not done. He took him to McDonald's. That detail is what made the story spread so widely later, because it sounds simple and yet it carries so much weight. A cheeseburger, a Happy Meal, a toy. The department had free cheeseburger coupons from a local McDonald's owner for situations like this, and Robinson used one to make sure this child did not go through his birthday without even the smallest celebration. Reports say the boy loved looking at the toy and his Happy Meal. He was excited just to sit there, eat, and hang out with a police officer for a while. Think about the emotional whiplash of that day from the child's point of view. A few hours earlier, he was waiting in an office, trying to understand why his mother was not coming. Now he was riding through town in a police car, holding a Happy Meal toy, sitting next to an adult who had decided he was not going to let the day end in pure heartbreak. And maybe the most important part was this: Robinson did not rush it. According to reporting, he spent about 45 minutes with the boy before finally getting him reunited with family. 45 minutes does not sound like much in a lifetime. But to a child in crisis, it can feel enormous. That was 45 minutes of attention, conversation, distraction, kindness, and normalcy. 45 minutes in which the child did not feel forgotten. 45 minutes in which he got to be a kid again instead of the collateral damage of adult chaos. That is what separates a polite gesture from something unforgettable. Time. Anyone can offer a quick kindness and disappear. It takes something deeper to slow down, stay present, and let a hurting child feel that he matters. Robinson did not just solve a transportation problem. He interrupted a traumatic memory while it was still being formed. And the story becomes even more powerful when you understand why he responded that way. While he was driving that boy around, Robinson said he was remembering his own childhood. Years earlier, retired Green Bay police captain Bill Bongle had shown him that same kind of attention and care. Bongle had spent time around Robinson's neighborhood, talked to him, taken him to get candy, and became the kind of steady adult presence kids do not forget. Robinson later said those experiences were part of what inspired him to go into law enforcement in the first place.
Get candy or whatever. I think I met him on one of my birthdays when I was younger. And then he always came around if I needed someone to talk to. Or
He was not just helping that boy because he felt sorry for him. He was passing forward something that had once changed him too. And that changes the entire emotional meaning of the story. Because suddenly, this is not just about one officer doing one good deed on one random afternoon. It becomes a story about how compassion travels, how one act of kindness survives the years inside a person and then appears again when someone else needs it most. Robinson had once been the kid receiving that kind of grace. Now he was the adult giving it. That is rare. And it is beautiful. Eventually, after the ride, the food, and that brief break from sadness, Robinson brought the boy home and turned him over to his grandfather. Reports say some of the boy's siblings were there too. By the end of the day, he was no longer sitting alone in that office wondering if anyone was coming. He was back with family. The larger problems in his life had not magically disappeared. Whatever had happened with his mother was still real. Whatever struggle existed around that home was still there, waiting for tomorrow. But the ending of that birthday had changed. And that matters more than people realize, because years later, when that boy thinks back on his 8th birthday, he may still remember the waiting. He may remember the office getting quiet. He may remember that sinking feeling when he realized his mother was not coming. He may even remember the confusion of hearing adult words he did not fully understand. But he will also remember climbing into a squad car for the first time. He will remember the excitement of the ride, the Packer cards, the little police tattoo, the cheeseburger, the Happy Meal toy. The officer who did not treat him like a burden to be transferred, but like a child whose pain mattered. And maybe that memory will shine brighter than the rest. When the Green Bay Police Department shared what happened, the response was immediate. The story spread far beyond Wisconsin. People from other states, even other countries, reached out. Some asked if they could send the boy birthday gifts. Others simply wrote that the officer's kindness had broken their hearts in the best possible way. Robinson himself never expected that kind of attention. He said he was not looking for the spotlight. But the reaction showed that people instantly recognized what they were really seeing. Not a stunt, not a performance, not a viral trick, but a human being quietly refusing to let a child's worst birthday memory become permanent. And Robinson made it clear the connection would not necessarily end there.
but anything we could do to build that trust and make
make those connections is great.
He said he planned to keep in touch with the boy, to check on him, maybe show him the police station someday, maybe let him see the SWAT vehicle and the emergency vehicles and the lights and sirens. That detail says everything. This was not about one photogenic moment. It was about presence. It was about letting a child know that one terrible afternoon did not mean he had been abandoned by the whole world. That is why this story stays with people. Not because it is flashy. Not because it is dramatic in a movie-like way, but because it touches something painfully real. Every day, children get caught inside adult failures they did not create and cannot control. Most of the time, they do not get a hero moment. They just live through the confusion and carry it quietly. But every now and then, someone steps into that darkness at exactly the right time and softens what could have become a lifelong scar. One ride, one meal, 1 hour of patience, one person showing up when it would have been easier not to. That little boy woke up expecting a birthday. For a while, it looked like he was going to get heartbreak instead. But because Officer Daryl Robinson walked into that school office and chose kindness over convenience, the meaning of that day changed completely. It became a story about being seen when you feel forgotten, a story about being protected when the adults in your life fall apart, a story about how one decent person, showing up at the exact right moment, can keep a child from believing the whole world has let him down. And sometimes, especially for a kid, that is the kind of gift that lasts far longer than birthdays do.